So some of you might know that Edmund McMillen recently conducted a poll on Twitter where he asked people for the worst items in the Binding of Isaac because he's looking to buff them. And today I bring to you the results, which I haven't fully looked at. I've seen the start, of course, because that's just what jumps into your eye when you open it. Can I make this bigger? The hell? Oh, that works. Oh, that works. This works really well. Nice. The Binding of Isaac worst item pool voting results. So these are the items that the community voted the worst out of all the items in the game. Basically, items they want to see buffed. Right? So we're gonna die. I already saw data miner as number 1. Actually, I didn't read the subtext at the top. The Binding of Isaac worst item poll voting results. If an item is marked with an asterisk, that means it was added to the poll due to the overwhelming amount of people who put it in the second section. Some items have a true total, meaning it was mentioned in both the first and the second sections. It will be shown next to the first section's total in brackets and also determine its overall placement. All right. So data miner is number 1, which this is actually what I saw when I saw this post, and it immediately prompted me to talk about this on stream. Because data miner is the item that won me the quality 0 challenge. Like, that is so bizarre to me. Like, I'm not saying data miner shouldn't be buffed, because obviously it's a luck-based item. You know, most of the time it's going to be, or 50% of the time it's going to be bad for you, and I got insanely lucky in the quality 0 run. But to see it in spot number 1 was immediately so weird to me. But it's fine. I don't know how you would buff that item though. Like, would you just make it up 2 stats and lower 1? That would make it quite strong. Like, I don't know, give it a chance to only up a stat without lowering another one? I really don't know how you would buff that item. Rotate the sprites even further. There you go. That's how you make data miner better. Clicker, I mean, I don't know how you would buff that item. It just turns you into a different character. I feel like most people use clicker for just to change their character for unlocks, right? Like, get a super broken build on Isaac, then roll clicker and keep rolling until you roll the lost and waltz through the game. I mean, clicker is an item that just does what it does. Like, how do you make that better? Oh, clicker removes one of your items? Really? Does it? Okay, well, maybe you can get rid of that, I guess. First Eye, that's really funny too, because that was also the MVP of one of my Q0s. I really don't know. I mean, you could make it fire more shots, I guess. I think Cursed Eye is a risk versus reward item where I'm not sure it really deserves to be buffed. Like, it's an item that has an incredibly high skill ceiling, because if you're not going to Delirium, you typically have quite a solid amount of control over getting teleported. So yeah, I don't know if I would buff that, but I mean, it is what it is. The poop. I mean, I feel like the poop was added. The poop was a joke item at first, right? Like in the old Flash Isaac days, it was a reference to how your bowels empty when you die. You know, and that's why it's Blue Baby's starting item. It was added as a meme. I can see that people would want it to do more. I mean, you could give it a chance to poop rainbow poops and golden poops. I mean, that would be a reasonable way to buff that. The rainbow poop thing wouldn't do anything for Blue Baby, of course, but that'd be fine. Mom's pad? I mean, Mom's pad is a solid item. It's not. Like, the problem with Mom's pad is that usually you have a better space use. Mom's pad isn't bad. It fears every enemy in the room. Like, it can get you out of a bad situation. These are unreasonable votes. Yeah, a lot of these really don't make sense to me, which is why I wanted to look over this on stream. Mom's pad, I mean, I don't know. I think Mom's pad is fine as is personally. Like, if you ever found yourself surrounded by enemies, you have that item, you pop it and you're safe. Isaac's heart, I mean, that's reasonable. I don't know how you would buff that further. They already buffed it by making it able to fire, but that didn't make it good. Shard of Glass, I mean, that's reasonable too. I've only tried that item like twice actually, because it is kind of bad. Oh, it has an asterisk too, which is, so it wasn't even like mentioned in the original post. I really need to look about how this vote went. Like, did Edmund just make a list of items and let people vote? Okay, then there's Hashi. I mean, that's fine. Hashi doesn't do anything, like, ever. I don't know how you would buff him either. You could make him bigger. You could make him bigger and also, like, fire a circle of tears periodically. And or the bean is honestly fine too. It's like, it's the same category as Mom's Pad. If you're ever surrounded, you pop the bean, everything gets pushed back a bit and poisoned. Poison is really strong too. I don't think the bean is a buff. And then the whiz, I mean, sure. This is... How would you buff that? How would you buff the whiz? I mean, the diagonal double shot, you pretty much never pick that item, but... I don't know how you would buff the whiz. Is anyone else like incredibly annoyed with this ordering? Like, why doesn't it go 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16? Like, I get that it went here like this, but why would you do that to me? I don't know how you would buff Kamikaze. You could give it Mr. Mega damage to enemies and keep it like with your self damage as is. Abel actually has been buffed twice in the span of this of the game's development. I don't know. You can make him do more damage. I mean, he's quite useless. IBS. I mean, that's reasonable. That's not a great item either. That's not a great item either. You can give yourself a bit more control over it. I mean, they made it predictable now. IBS on release used to go off like without a warning whatsoever, and it doesn't do that anymore, and that's a great change. But I'm not sure how you would make that better. Plan C is fine as is, honestly. It can kill a bunch of last endgame bosses. The problem is that basically anything that was added after Rebirth is unkillable with Plan C, because their death animations are so long that you can't actually get into the chests in time, so... But then if you take that away, suddenly you can just Plan C Delirium. So I don't know. You could make it like a 10-second timer, or like, I don't know, 7 to 8. That way you should still be able to kill everything but Delirium. Yeah, I don't know. Curse of the Tower, I would honestly not buff that. You could make it drop more bombs. But I would argue that most people don't actually consider that a buff. Make it so the Curse of the Tower bombs can also proc additional Curse of the Tower procs off of you. I don't know how you would buff that. Lemon Party is fine. People sleep on that item. It's the same with the Big Lemon item. Like, this thing strips 25% off of Isaac's health. Like Isaac the boss and Blue Baby. Like, Lemon Mishap does massive damage. I don't think people realize how much damage that thing does. That's Mars, right? Yeah, that's totally fair. Nobody takes that item. The accidental dashes with Mars just get you hit so often. I don't know how you would dash. You could put the dash on like a different key, on a different hotkey. Teleport. These guys were high. Look at this line, dude. Look at this line. I mean, this guy sucks, right? I don't see Mars. It's behind me. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. Look at this line, dude. These guys, what are these people smoking? Teleport is fine. Like, it's a fine item. It does what it's supposed to do. And it can get you out of bad situations. And it can save you room clear time. The teleport is a great item. Little Portal sucks. I don't know how you'd buff that guy, but he sucks. Like, you pretty much never want to use him to eat up your consumables. So, that make them usable, but you can't really guarantee that together. What? No, they're not able is okay. Like, it has no downsides. Why would it need to be buffed? Same goes for Lemon Mishap. That's a solid item. You don't need any synergy with Lemon Mishap for it to deal 25% off Isaac's max health. it's solid. Little Portal is cute and functions fine. Yeah, but like his use is kind of bad. Do a list of 10 items that need a buff. Little Delirium is also okay. Like, I really don't understand. You use that thing to kill a boss. You could reduce its cooldown, I guess, but then you still own, like, if you make Little Delirium a 6-room recharge, everyone is still just gonna save it for the boss fight. Like, how do you buff that? And it doesn't need to do more damage. Like, it can kill any boss for you. This item is fine. Isaac's Tears. I mean, Isaac's Tears have been bad since the game released, so that's fair. A bit surprised to see both missing no anti-M trainer on the list. I'm just gonna ignore the Mega Bean because that item's fine too. I think that's Mega Bean at least. I can't tell all the beans apart. I don't know how you would buff these. Like, they're clearly meme items. So I really don't know how you'd buff these. They do a funny thing that you do like once and then never again. But yeah, Ludo, I don't know. Make your tier faster. You could do that, I guess. I mean, you can up your tier. You make your tier faster with shot speed. You can up your tick rate with tears up. You can up your damage with damage up. Ludo is one of those items that just does a meme thing. So I don't know if you should buff them. Same goes for Marked. I'm not a big fan of that item. You could up the tier rate that it gives you, I guess, but then nobody would still take it. The problem with Marked really is big rooms. You know, like, you put your Mark to one side of the room and suddenly when you need it on the other side of the room, it takes forever to get there. Like, that's the problem with Marked. You could make the movement speed of the cursor faster, I guess. Bob's Brain is fine, honestly. It's a risk versus reward item. Sure, it's easy to blow yourself up with it, but it's okay. So yeah. Black Bean. Black Bean is okay. It just got recently buffed, didn't it? It made you fart a lot more every time you get hit. Tiny Planet. I mean, that's also a bad item, but another one that I wouldn't know how you would buff. Libra is fine. Libra was also just recently buffed to put a lot more focus on damage, so I don't think I would change anything about that either. You could make it even more damage centric, but at that point you can just make it a damage up. So I don't know. God's Flesh, I mean, that's a fine one to buff because I always thought the shrink shot was kind of lackluster. Like, even when you shrink an enemy, you know, you still rarely get to actually stomp them because they either die beforehand before you get there, or there's other enemies in the way. And the problem with it is also that you can't stomp champions because they still do contact damage to you, if I remember correctly. And even if not, then you wouldn't be able to stomp blue champions because they immediately spawn a halo of tears upon death. You wouldn't be able to spawn the red champions that leave behind a meat puddle. Like, there's just a lot of times where you can't really use God's Flesh. E-Bomb is... I mean, I don't know. That seems like another meme one. Although, once you do have a lot of keys, Key Bomb seems pretty fine. I guess an honorable mention does go out to Pay to Play, but that item sucks. That's actually an item that would need a buff, so... That's actually a good point. You could buff Pay to Play by making it so it converts every key into a coin. I wonder why they didn't do that yet. That would actually make it a somewhat solid item. Taurus. I mean, Taurus is kind of weird. You pick it up on low health, you're kind of really gutted. You pick it up at high health, then it actually is kind of good until you get into the late game where it's just annoying. You could make it so you could bind it again to a hotkey and make it so once your speed is built all the way up, you can pop it at will. But I don't know if that needs a buff either. Missing Page 2 is honestly fine. Like, it barely does anything, but when it does something, it's okay. Portable slot is a weird one because you buff that thing's win rate. If you buff that thing's payout rate, it suddenly gets really dangerous where it can potentially just win the run on its own. I mean, magnetic tears are just garbage. The real problem with buffing magnetic tears is that they introduced lodestone in Repentance, which is how they probably should have buffed that thing. But they can't do that anymore now, right? Because we have lodestone. Void? Wait, what? Are these people drunk? That item is insane. Isn't that a quality 4? Wait, are these guys nuts? Dude, that's a quality 4. And unlike Satanic Bible, it's an actual quality 4. Abyss? No, Abyss is red. That's void. Unless somebody put the wrong item on there. But that item is crazy. Like, Void is insanely good. That's one of the best items in the game. Like, that's the reason that the guy who starts with it, whose name I forgot, what is his name? The guy that starts with it, he's the second best character in the game because of Void. Like... Apollyon, yeah, like he's the second best character to start with in any run, pretty much. That's how good Void is. Why would you buff that? Jar of Hearts has like a really, really niche use. I guess you could buff it to also be able to store Black Hearts and Soul Hearts. I think that's a reasonable buff, honestly. It is called Jar of Hearts after all, and not Jar of Red Hearts, so... Apollyon is garbage and you are delusional. Excuse me? Every time you find a garbage item, you get a stat up? Hey everyone, just a quick note here again from post-production probs. While livestream probs is going on another tangent about how good Void is, I still stand by what I said, that it's a really good item and it definitely doesn't need any buffs, but I definitely did go a bit overboard on the assessment. It's certainly not so good that Apollyon would be the second best character in the game. What I thought of when I made that assessment was just the original non-tainted characters. I forgot about the tainted ones. I still maintain that Apollyon is really good, maybe like top 3 to 4, depending on how you want to place Azazel and Cain. But stuff like Tainted Isaac, of course, completely blows him out of the water. I still maintain Apollyon is a really, really good character, and people are sleeping on the Void, especially if they voted as one of the worst items in the game. But yeah, that's just my opinion on it. Feel free to disagree with it, and let me know in the comments what you think. Anyway, let's move on. That's the Obsessed fan, right? That's the fly that follows you. I'm not sure what it's called, but that's the fly that follows you around. I mean, I don't know. It kind of does the same thing as Shade, just like with more damage. Blood Rides, okay, that's fair. Like, I mean, you can make it do half hour the damage and that would be a solid buff, but it'd still be garbage afterwards. You could give it a chance to drop Red Hearts on kill, but that might make it too strong depending on what the odds are. Brown Nugget is another one of my quality 0 MVPs, so honestly, I just think that's an item people sleep on. So I don't think you should buff that. Like, same for Deadbird. I mean, sure, you need to get hit to activate it, but like Deadbird is good. It's actually good. They are strong items for what they are. The flaw is simply you can't change or choose, and Abyss doesn't have very good synergies. I mean, Abyss sucks. We don't need to talk about that, but Void is insane. Shade. I mean, this applies the same as this thing. That's the one that makes you shoot a circle of tears every time you get hit, right? That's one of those items where I'm never sad to have it. I mean, I guess you could make it fire more tears or higher damage tears, but who cares? Teleport on 18? Yeah, that's what I already... Stompy... The problem with this thing is that Stompy itself is not actually a positive perk. It's actually quite negative in a lot of scenarios. If you stomp a skull with an enemy inside or a mushroom that explodes, you're gonna take damage. That's one of the biggest problems with it. And on top of that, it also gives you a speed down. So they thought, when they made this item, they thought Stompy was a positive effect. So they were like, okay, you trade 1 negative for 2 positives, right? You get speed down, but as a compensation, you get Stompy, which is good, and you get a health up, which is good. But in reality, Stompy is actually not that great. So you really get 2 negatives for 1 positive, and that's not really that great. They could make it so you get like the teensiest bit of iframes after stomping a rock or a skull. So you don't actually get hit after stomping something, right? And that would actually fix it. So I think this deserves to be on this list, but most of these are just... Bomb Friend, I don't think that guy needs a buff, dude. I really need to see how this poll was conducted. Bomb Friend doesn't need a buff. Bomb Friend is actually somewhat useful in the late game. Like, once you make it past the stage of having shops, at least you get something out of your coins. Razor is okay, but meh. Did we already address number 40? Wait, there's no 44 on the list. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this guy sucks. This guy sucks. You could make him, like, not do friendly fire, I guess. And then Leo has kind of the same problem as this thing, except it's just straight up a bad item. Edmund just tweeted number 44 has been deleted from the game entirely. 44 is Book of Revelations. Wait, are you serious? You're just shitting with me, right? There's no way. Anyway, this still goes on, right? Like, this was just part 1, if I remember correctly. Worst item pool top placements. The overall results of what people voted as their top 5. Oh, people were making a top 5 list. I see. Okay, and so the first thing was like the top votes. We're like, we can just skim over this. This is the exact same items. But like the number 1 most voted item was Clicker, which is really surprising to me. Because like, I mean, I don't know, dude. Sure, it takes an item away from you, but again, the thing most people do with Clicker is they load up an Isaac run, they break the game, get super overpowered, and then they use Clicker until they turn into the character they need an unlock for and just blaze through the game. Excuse me. Yeah, we don't need to look over this. Interesting to see that Clicker was actually the most voted number 1 spot, but then Data Miner fell 2 to 4. I still don't get Data Miner, but it is what it is. Okay, we don't need to look at that. What's that? The Binding of Isaac worst item poll, most mentioned items. The top 10 items mentioned most in the second section of the poll. Items that were in the poll and eventually added due to the amount of people who mentioned it are not counted. Oh, okay. So the way the poll must have been conducted was also... The way the poll must have been conducted was that Edmund gave a list of items, but then people could also make a secondary list of items not on the poll. And like, seeing these votes already makes me like... vomit. I mean, Jupiter's ass. I think we can agree on that. Jupiter's ass, like that's absolutely valid. But Breath of Life is a super fun item now. Like, I'm not saying it's good, but we tested it after it got buffed and it's fun. It's a really satisfying item to use correctly. Abyss, I mean, I can go with that. Abyss is nice, but anyone who voted Boom is just insane. Like 10 bombs is by no means spectacular, but like, come on, 10 bombs? That's not one of the worst items in the game. 34 people are completely nuts. Like, 10 bombs is 10 bombs. Each of those do 100 damage. And then you have Anti-Gravity, Guillotine. Anti-Grav, fine. I still maintain that Guillotine is a really good, really hard to use item, but I will add the caveat, it's hard to use. The same way that I hate the control tiers thing, Eye of the Occult, which gives you damage and tier rate, and the ability to control your tiers. I don't take that because I'm uncomfortable with it. So I completely concede that Guillotine is hard to use. I think it's a really good item. It's a phenomenal item. It gives you a damage up, a tier rate up, and a high damage orbital. But I can see why people hate that thing. Anti-gravity also totally fine. Bumbo, I mean, really? Bumbo is fine. In the same vein as what's he called? In the same way as Bumfriend allows you to turn your coins into value in the late game, Bumbo does too. Notice a lack of spider mod? Yeah, and that's exactly why you can't trust the community with both like that. Dark Princess Crown and Milk, dude, these people are out of their minds. Dark Princess Crown, okay, I can see that. I almost never activated either when I take it, right? But Milk breaks the tier cap, dude. Can I link this? Sure, I can link it in chat in a second. Dead Sea Scrolls and Strawman. I mean, that's fine. I don't understand the hate for Dead Sea Scrolls because I actually thought people loved randomness, but maybe that's just Twitch chat. Maybe it's just when they can watch someone else do it. And Strawman, I mean, Strawman is garbage. I took that item once and I was like, there's no space use item that's worse than that. People literally crying about spilt milk. Epiphora is solid. Dude, Soul? That's Soul? And the D10? Isn't the D10 the one that evolves enemies? Hold up. Am I getting my Ds mixed up? When used, devolves all enemies. Dude, the D10 is insane now. These people, this must be people that haven't played the buff D10. Because the buff D10 is literally so good. Wow. Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. Epiphora is fine. It's pretty niche, but like, get Epiphora in literally any boss fight that has a big room, and it's actually really good. And Soul is great. Like, Soul is a really good item. It shows you the way, at least to an extent, to your boss room. Once you clear the boss room, you get a damage up, and it cleanses your curses and reveals your map. Like, how is that bad? And then the Butterbean, you know, I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I haven't looked at the comments for this topic yet. Data miner probably won't get a buff because it was a FU item to data miners, but a clicker buff would be pretty swag. Oh yeah, right. He added data miner out of spite because his ARG was ruined on the original Rebirth release. Can link this, doesn't link it. I mean, I said I can. I never said I would. Steak, thank you for 107 months of support. I appreciate it. You mad lad. IMO should always return you to your original character after you use it a second time and maybe give you some sort of small boost to your stats or some consumables. You should insta-kill Dogma or do the D10 effect on him or something because it would be funny. Dogma fight starts now. I've seen that episode. Okay, that's actually pretty funny. Oh yeah, please do this. That's actually really funny. They need to do that, dude. Okay, yeah, that's good. That's gold. We need to have that happen. Who the hell voted Void? People who wanted it to be buffed, which would then be a buff to Apollyon. Problem with Apollyon isn't that he's bad, it's that he has no unique characteristics besides having Void and one less heart. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I still think he's the second best character to start a run with in the game because Void is so good. Oops. Because Void is so good. Like, I mean, and to the people disagreeing with me earlier, like, who's better than Apollyon? Except Isaac, of course. More fun? I mean, there's a lot of those, right? There's a lot of characters more fun than Apollyon. But he's good. Like, Void is insane. I really want to know who voted Void. Honestly, the best way to buff Boom would be to make it exclusive to lock chests, just like Fate. I can understand. Like, I can understand the sentiment, man. I really can, but like, I'm stoked if I go to an item room and find 10 bombs, but maybe that's me. But I think this is kind of clever too. Make it golden chest exclusive. I mean, imagine spending a key on a golden chest and getting 10 bombs out of it. It's actually kind of nice. Based on what I see, I think a lot of people who voted don't even have repentance. Little Portal deserves to be in the top 5 IMO. Yeah, oh god, I totally forgot about that, dude. The poop in 4th place. You can even make bridges with the poop if you have a bomb. Like... How the F did Ludo and Libra get onto the list? I mean, I can tell you how. Okay, anything that is lower than rank 22 is BS. Little Portal should be the 3rd item on the list. Is the item that I never ever pick on. Yeah, I mean... Bro, Libra is insanely broken if you get the right items or trinkets. I mean, so is Curse of the Tower. That's just... that's a bad argument. Kamikaze! Yeah, I mean, this guy gets it. Kamikaze is the best item in the game. You just need to find the thing that makes you immune to explosions. Nobody said anything about 44. People who voted Breath of Life are tripping. Yeah. 3 blood donation, Curse Room, and can deal hefty damage in a pinch. Should have a massive yawning skill issue. Libra is amazing. I don't agree, but I mean, that's fine. People sleep on Isaac's heart. Excuse you?